Welcome to Miss Scarlett, the place to be feminine. Subscribe and enjoy. Naomie took a cautious step into the dimly lit bedroom, her heart pounding in her chest. The musty scent of perfume and talcum powder filled her nostrils, sparking a flurry of memories. It had been years since she'd stepped foot in her childhood home, and yet, here she was, drawn back by a force she couldn't quite explain. As her eyes adjusted to the soft light, she took in the familiar surroundings. The room was exactly as she remembered it, the gossamer curtains billowing gently in the breeze, the sun casting long shadows across the wooden floor. Naomie's breath quickened as she approached the expansive wardrobe, its mirrored doors reflecting her hesitant form. "I used to watch Mom get ready here every morning," she murmured, her voice echoing strangely in the empty room. Naomie traced her finger along the sleek surface of the wardrobe, her reflection warping with her movement. She'd sing softly to herself as she chose her outfit for the day. With a gentle click, Naomie opened the wardrobe doors, inhaling sharply at the explosion of color and texture before her. Rows upon rows of clothing hung neatly, each outfit a reminder of her mother's impeccable taste and style. Silks and satins brushed against her cheeks as she ventured deeper, her eyes wide with wonder. This was her sanctuary, she whispered, her fingers grazing the delicate fabrics. She'd spend hours in here, curating her look for the upcoming week. Naomie's hand stilled on a familiar lilac blouse, the silk cool and smooth against her skin. She recalled the many times she'd seen her mother wear it, always with such grace and sophistication. Carefully, she lifted the blouse from its hanger, holding it against her body. The silk draped perfectly, as if it had been made for her. "I used to think she was the most beautiful woman in the world," she confessed to her reflection, her eyes flicking to the blouse. "I wanted to be just like her." Tentatively, Naomie slipped the blouse over her head, the silk caressing her skin as it fell into place. The fit was perfect, as if it had been tailored just for her. She reached up, adjusting the collar, her eyes never leaving the mirror. "Mom would let me play dress-up sometimes," she chuckled softly, the sound foreign in the quiet room. "I'd parade around in her high heels, feeling like a queen." Naomie's eyes fell to the bottom of the wardrobe, where a plethora of shoes lay neatly organized. Her heart quickened as she knelt, her fingers trailing over the soft leather and delicate fabrics. She picked up a pair of classic pumps, remembering the way her mother had sashayed around the room in them. "She made it look so easy," she mused, running her thumb over the sleek leather. "I used to practice walking in these, pretending to be her." Naomie stood, slipping her feet into the pumps. They fit like a glove, as if they had been waiting for her all this time. She took a tentative step, her eyes widening as she found her balance. "Wow," she breathed, her gaze fixed on her reflection. "I feel—" The word hung in the air, unspoken, as Naomie twirled, the silk of the blouse whispering around her. She drank in the sight of herself, her heart thrumming with an unfamiliar feeling. "Beautiful," she whispered, the word feeling strange and wonderful on her tongue. "Powerful." Naomie's breath quickened as she drank in her reflection, seeing herself in a whole new light. The blouse and shoes were like a conduit to another world, one where she could be whoever she wanted to be. It was liberating and terrifying all at once. "This is where it all began," she realized, her eyes flicking around the room. "I started cross-dressing after finding Mom's wardrobe. I was just a kid, curious and experimenting." The memory hit her like a ton of bricks, the feeling of liberation and excitement as she'd tried on her mother's clothes, a secret world opening up to her. "I felt free, she admitted, her voice steady. Away from the expectations and judgments of the world. I could be myself, whoever that was. Naomi's gaze flickered to the closed door of the bedroom, as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. But the house was silent, holding its breath with her. It was our little secret, she continued, her voice lowered as if sharing a confidence. Mom knew, of course. She'd find me parading around in her shoes, lipstick smeared across my face, and just laugh it off. She never shamed me or made me feel wrong. A fond smile played on Naomi's lips as she remembered the clandestine nature of those early experiments. The thrill of trying on her mother's clothes, of discovering a hidden part of herself, was like an addictive drug. We'd giggle and plot together, planning my outfits for when Dad was out of the house. She reminisced, her eyes sparkling with humor. It was our special bond, something just between us. Naomi's hand strayed to the blouse, fingering the silk gently. The memories were so vivid, it was as if she were transported back to those secret moments. I felt safe with her, she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. Like I could explore this part of myself without fear or judgment. She embraced me for who I was, even if she didn't understand it herself. A silence fell, heavy with the weight of the past. Naomi's eyes clouded with a mixture of emotions, gratitude, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. I miss her, she admitted, her throat tight. She was the first person to truly see me, to accept me. Naomi's gaze dropped to the floor, as if the weight of her mother's acceptance were a tangible thing. In that moment, she felt the full force of her mother's unconditional love, a love that had given her the courage to embrace her true self. The room seemed to press in on her, heavy with the past. Naomi's breath came in short bursts as she fought to keep her composure. I wish I could tell her who I am now, she whispered, her eyes flicking to the mirror. That little boy playing dress-up in her shoes. He knew who he was all along. Naomi, a voice called from the hallway, jolting her from her reverie. Are you in here? Yeah, she called back, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. Just taking a trip down memory lane. The door creaked open, revealing a man with a rugged face and kind eyes. His work-worn hands were tucked into the pockets of his jeans, and his gaze was filled with a mixture of concern and understanding. Find anything interesting? He asked, his voice deep and warm. Naomi turned to face him, a small smile playing on her lips. Just some old memories, she replied, her eyes flicking around the room. This place used to be her kingdom. He nodded, his eyes reflecting a shared history. It was, he acknowledged, stepping further into the room. Your mom sure knew how to make an entrance. She had an outfit for every occasion, didn't she? Naomi laughed softly, a fond smile on her face. She sure did. I used to love watching her get ready for parties or nights out. It was like witnessing a transformation. He chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. That's one way to put it. She'd spend hours getting ready, only to complain that she had nothing to wear. I remember, Naomi said, her eyes sparkling with amusement. But she always looked stunning. It was like she had a magic touch with clothes. He nodded, a faraway look in his eyes, as he too took a trip down memory lane. She did. Your dad sure knew how to pick 'em. There was clear affection in his tone, one that clearly remained to the current day. Naomi's smile faltered slightly at the mention of her father. Yeah, he did, she agreed, her voice soft. They were quite the pair. Silence fell between them, comfortable and filled with unspoken memories. Naomi's eyes drifted back to the wardrobe, her mind filled with images of her mother, the swish of her skirts, the click of her heels, the cloud of perfume that trailed in her wake. "I used to want to be just like her," she confessed softly, her eyes downcast. Elegant, confident, able to command a room without even trying. He stepped closer, his eyes filled with a warmth that mirrored the sun-drenched room.
"You are your mother's child,"
he said, his voice steady. "You've got her spirit, her sense of style, and her heart." Naomie's gaze snapped up to meet his, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "That means a lot."